everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're looking into something I think a lot of you are interested in, the future of e-commerce. Is there anything beyond Amazon and Flipkart?
Yeah.
We're going to be looking at Ashish Banerjee's ebook, Disaggregated Commerce.
Oh, cool.
So what if online shopping wasn't all about these, massive companies?
Right.
And it was more about a network of smaller players?
Yeah.
That's the big idea behind disaggregated commerce. And that's what we're going to be diving into today, to see if it can really work.
That's a fascinating topic. It is kind of like a network of independent shops, right?
Yeah.
Instead of like this one giant department store.
It is. And right now it does feel like the online world is dominated by those few names.
Yeah.
And Banerjee even compares it to how Coke and Pepsi just dominate the beverage aisle.
Right.
It's just tough for anyone else to get a foothold.
Yeah, it's he uses a really cool concept to describe that, right?
Oh, okay.
From network science. It's called Bose-Einstein condensation.
Bose-Einstein condensation. Okay.
Do you know how you go online and you're browsing for something and you end up on Amazon?
Yeah.
Even if you go to different websites, you always seem to end up back on Amazon, right?
It's like they've got this gravity.
It's like this magnetic pull.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what Bose-Einstein condensation is, where the bigger you are, the more you kind of pull everything in.
Wow. That's a really interesting way to put it, because it's not just random chance, right?
Right.
There's a scientific reason for why this happens. These companies become so huge.
Right.
And obviously that leads to a lot of problems, I guess.
Yeah, it does.
Not just for consumers, but for businesses who are trying to, compete.
Absolutely, yeah.
Little small businesses.
Mom and pop shops, yeah. They've been feeling the squeeze. And in some places, like in India, it's even pushed the government to step in, right?
Oh, wow.
With initiatives like ONDC.
RNDC, okay.
Open Network for Digital Commerce.
Okay.
They're trying to even the playing field, right?
That's interesting. So is that where blockchain comes in? Because I know a lot of people see it as a possible solution to all of this centralization.
Right. Banerjee really digs into that.
Okay.
Blockchain is basically just like this giant digital ledger, right?
Yeah.
And it's tamper-proof. Every transaction is verified by tons of different computers, so no one can control it.
But haven't there been some big blockchain projects that didn't really work out?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of Maersk, that shipping thing.
Yeah.
And then there was Walmart and the food tracking. Weren't those supposed to be the game changers for blockchain?
Yeah, and Banerjee actually addresses that.
Okay.
It seems like getting everyone on board, especially competitors, is kind of difficult.
Makes sense.
But what's interesting is how he applies blockchain to this idea of peer-to-peer commerce.
Peer-to-peer commerce. Now I need you to explain that to me.
Okay, so imagine, instead of Amazon being the one-stop shop,
Okay, yeah.
you have all these different providers for different pieces of the process.
Oh, okay. So one handles payment and then another does logistics.
Yeah, exactly.
And they all work together.
Yeah, and this would all be in a decentralized market.
So it's like taking those silos and breaking them down a bit.
Exactly.
And kind of spreading things out a bit.
And he really lays out some key principles for how this could work.
Okay.
One is low infrastructure costs, right?
Yeah.
Another one is multiple service providers for everything.
Oh, so there's no single point of failure.
Exactly, yeah. And then the big one is that all transactions are publicly auditable. So there's total transparency.
Okay, I can see that building trust.
Exactly.
What kind of impact could this have on small businesses, though? Because they're the ones who are really struggling against these giant platforms.
Imagine being able to run your business just using your existing systems.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Right? No one's forcing you onto some platform.
Right.
And then you could have access to open source accounting software to keep costs down.
Yeah.
It could really shake things up.
It could really shake things up.
Yeah.
That sounds promising. But how do you handle, the stuff that makes commerce work in the real world?
Yeah.
I'm talking KYC. Know your customer.
Right.
And how do you resolve disputes? That's where, crypto can get tricky.
Yeah. And Banerjee tackles this.
Okay.
He's like, look, real world commerce, it's not this anonymous world of crypto, right?
Yeah, it is different.
We need KYC. Imagine you're buying some handmade jewelry on this decentralized market.
Right.
KYC would ensure that this artisan is legit.
Yeah.
And that they know you're not, a scammer or whatever.
It's like adding those safeguards.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so it's not just about throwing out all the rules.
Right.
And then what about those uh-oh moments,
Right.
Something goes wrong with an order.
Well, for that, He proposes independent, trusted entities within this marketplace to handle those kinds of problems.
Okay.
So, like dispute resolution or escrow.
So it's almost like a referee in the system.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. To keep everything fair.
You're not just hoping for the best.
Right. Yeah.
There's actually a system in place to deal with these real-world problems.
Right.
Are there any examples of this actually happening? Or is it just all theory right now?
There are actually. Remember that ONDC thing we talked about in India?
Yeah, yeah.
It's actually gaining traction.
Wow.
There's this Namiyatri travel app competing with Ola and Uber
Okay.
and even Paytm. They're doing payments.
Yeah.
They're getting into the food delivery space with ONDC.
Wow, so it's not just a futuristic idea, it's happening now.
It's happening now. And it's not just like local commerce.
Okay.
Banerjee also talks about how blockchain can really streamline cross-border trade.
Okay, I'm definitely interested in that. Because cross-border trade, as you know, can be kind of a nightmare, especially with all the different currencies and regulations. How does blockchain even help?
So imagine this.
Yeah.
What if you could just bypass traditional banking systems
Okay.
for transactions?
Okay.
Banerjee talks about using local currencies and things like gold-backed digital assets as collateral.
Okay. Okay.
It's like digital bank guarantee.
Oh, I see. So instead of relying on banks, you're building that trust into the technology itself.
Right. And he also talks about how blockchain can provide this verifiable traceability for things like agricultural products and cold chain logistics.
Oh, okay.
That's huge for things like food safety and meeting international regulations.
Yeah, that makes sense. So we're seeing a lot of the potential upside here.
Yeah.
But let's be real. Are there any downsides to this? It can't all be good. Right.
Oh, absolutely not. Banerjee makes it very clear that this is still early days.
Yeah, okay.
There are a lot of challenges. Regulatory uncertainty, getting people to use these systems.
Yeah.
It's tough.
And just the complexity. Right?
Oh, yeah, tons of complexity. Integrating all these different service providers.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of moving pieces here.
A lot of moving pieces.
Yeah.
It'll take a whole new ecosystem to make this work.
Yeah, and I guess that's what we'll dive into next time. We'll be back for part 2 of our discussion on disaggregated commerce.
Sounds great. It's pretty exciting, though, right?
It is this whole idea of it could be more democratic.
Yeah.
More inclusive.
A more inclusive online marketplace.
Yeah, and you'd be shifting the power away from these giant corporations.
Yeah, exactly.
Back to that, all-important question, though. Can we really break big tech's hold on all this?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Banerjee makes a really strong case,
Yeah.
but it goes beyond just like tech, right?
Yeah, it's a whole mindset shift.
It's a mindset shift.
For businesses and for us as consumers.
Yeah.
So what needs to happen to make this model really take off? Is it just a matter of waiting for these new platforms to emerge?
It's not necessarily about just waiting.
Okay.
I think we need to see more success stories.
Like ONDC?
Like ONDC, yeah.
Yeah.
To kind of prove that this can actually work.
Yeah.
But you as a consumer, right?
Yeah.
You can start seeking out businesses that are already embracing this approach.
So I could look for companies that are really transparent about their supply chain. They really prioritize ethical sourcing.
Yeah.
Maybe they even use alternative payment methods.
Exactly. It's
That's
kind of like
what-
putting your money where your mouth is, right?
Exactly. You're kind of voting for a different type of marketplace.
With every purchase.
With every purchase, yeah.
Let's get into the weeds a little bit here.
Okay.
You mentioned gold-backed digital assets earlier.
Right.
I'm not sure I totally understand that. How do they actually work?
Okay, so imagine you have a digital token,
Okay.
and that token actually represents real gold.
These can be traded on a blockchain, just like cryptocurrencies. But their value is actually tied to the price of gold.
Which is obviously way more stable than something like Bitcoin, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
So now let's apply that to, cross-border trade.
Okay.
These tokens can be used as collateral.
Okay.
So let's say you're a business in, Sri Lanka, and you want to import some wheat from India.
Okay. Yeah.
You can actually put up these gold-backed tokens as a way to guarantee that payment.
It's almost like a digital letter of credit.
Exactly. And you're cutting out the banks.
We're cutting out the bank.
And because everything is recorded on this blockchain, it's transparent and auditable. So there's much less risk of fraud and all of that.
It makes sense for payments, but what about all the other parts of cross-border trade, like
Right.
logistics and tracking? Can blockchain help there?
That's where traceability comes in, right?
Okay.
The blockchain, it's this permanent record of every transaction.
So, okay, I could literally see where a shipment of wheat came from,
Yeah.
how it was transported,
Yeah.
what conditions it was kept in,
Exactly.
all along the way.
And that information is available to anyone who has permission.
Right.
Right. So it creates this level of transparency and accountability that you just don't really see.
In traditional supply chains.
Yeah.
And that's huge.
Yeah.
Especially with things like food safety
Right.
and ethical sourcing. Consumers really want to know these things now.
They do. They want to know where their stuff comes from, how it was made.
So this disaggregated commerce thing, it's not just about sticking it to big tech, right?
Right.
It's about creating a system that's more transparent, more equitable,
More sustainable.
even sustainable, yeah,
Exactly.
for the whole marketplace.
It's about empowering small businesses,
Yeah.
giving consumers more control, and ultimately creating just a more balanced global economy.
Let's be real, though. We
Yeah.
can't just snap our fingers and make this happen, right? I mean, to do this on a global scale, there's going to be some roadblocks.
Absolutely, yeah. There are technical challenges, regulatory hurdles,
Cultural barriers.
even cultural barriers, yeah.
Overcome.
Give me an example of a specific one.
Okay, so one of the biggest challenges is interoperability.
Okay.
Right now, you have all these different companies and organizations developing their own blockchain platforms.
Right.
It's like everyone's speaking a different language.
Yeah, so we need a universal translator,
Exactly.
a way to make sure these systems can talk to each other.
We need to agree on standards and protocols,
Good.
common ways of doing things, so that these blockchain networks can seamlessly communicate.
And that's not just a tech problem.
It's not.
It's a people problem.
Yeah, you have to get everyone on board.
Governments, businesses.
Yeah, you need a lot of collaboration,
Tech sucks.
a lot of consensus building.
Yeah, okay. And what about, okay, we've talked about the tech issues and the collaboration, but what about just human behavior?
Are people ready for this? Are they willing to embrace this new way of doing things?
I mean, that's the big unknown, right?
Yeah.
I think we've gotten so used to the convenience of these centralized platforms.
Yeah, Amazon, it's so easy.
It is.
You just click buy.
It might be hard to get people to switch over to a system where it's a little bit more, complex.
Yeah.
Maybe they had to be more responsible for their data.
Right. Manage their transactions a bit more actively. So it's about showing them the value. Why this is worth the effort.
Yeah.
Why this benefits them directly.
And it's not just about the consumers, right?
Businesses have to be convinced too. It's got
Yeah.
to save them money.
Make it more efficient.
Open up new markets.
Yeah. There's a lot of education that needs to happen.
You need to get the word out.
Awareness.
Yeah, and that takes time.
It does.
But I think more and more people are becoming aware of the downsides
Right.
of these centralized platforms.
I mean, we're hearing more and more about data breaches.
Yeah.
Algorithmic bias,
the power that these companies have.
power, yeah.
It's making people think maybe there's a better way.
There's an appetite for alternatives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it may not be mainstream yet,
Right.
but it's definitely something to watch.
Yeah, it feels like the future is now kind of thing.
It does. It does.
It has the potential to, just really reshape the digital landscape.
And speaking of reshaping things,
Yeah.
Banerjee also gets into the nitty-gritty of ERP and accounting software,
Yeah.
which may sound a little dry, but it's actually a really important piece of this puzzle
It is.
to make this whole disaggregated commerce thing actually work,
Especially for those small businesses.
especially for those small businesses. Yeah. So how does ERP fit into all of this?
Okay, so ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning.
Okay.
It's basically software that helps businesses manage all of their core operations.
Okay.
Think inventory, orders, financials, customer relationships, all of that.
So it's like mission control for their business.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay.
And in a world that's disaggregated, you need an ERP system that can talk to all these different platforms and services seamlessly.
So instead of having all your data stuck on one platform, like an Amazon,
right.
you'd have it spread out across different providers, but you can still manage it all
Exactly.
from this central hub.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
This is where open source software becomes a game changer, right?
Okay.
Banerjee talks about platforms like Fratbooks and ERP Next,
Okay.
which are these really affordable and customizable solutions that are perfect for, smaller businesses.
So it's about giving businesses options.
Options, yeah.
They're not stuck with whatever the big guys are pushing.
Right. They have the freedom to choose tools that actually fit their needs.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the whole point of this, right?
Yeah.
Giving businesses more control over their data and their operations.
So it's not just about breaking up the monopolies. It's about democratizing the technology.
Exactly.
Creating a more level playing field for everyone. But let's get back to the practical side of things.
Okay.
Let's say a small business is operating in this decentralized marketplace. How are they actually using these ERP systems day to day?
Okay, so let's say you're like a small closing retailer
Okay.
selling on a bunch of different platforms.
Yeah.
Your ERP system could help you with things like, managing your inventory.
Okay.
You can track stock levels across all those different marketplaces.
So I don't run out of stock.
Exactly. Yeah, no matter where those orders are coming from.
Okay. What else?
Processing order, so receiving orders from all those different platforms.
Okay.
Generating invoices, managing your shipping, all streamlined.
Okay.
Handling payments,
Okay.
integrating with all the different payment providers,
Keep track of that cash flow.
keeping track of cash flow.
And just getting insights into your data, right?
Yes,
So you
exactly.
can see what's selling well, what's not selling well.
Across all those different platforms.
Make smart decisions
Exactly.
about pricing, marketing.
Yeah.
So it's like having that bird's eye view
It is.
of
right.
your entire business,
Yeah.
even though your operations might be spread out.
Yeah, exactly. And this is where API integration becomes really important.
Now, APIs, for people who don't know, application programming interfaces.
Yeah,
It's how all these different software systems can talk to each other, right?
exactly. So a good ERP will have these APIs
Okay.
that can connect to those different marketplaces.
Different payment providers.
Payment providers, shipping services, all of that.
So it's about automating all those manual processes.
Right, yeah.
That would take forever if you were doing it the old-fashioned way.
It frees up those small businesses to really focus on what they're good at, which is
Right.
creating
And selling.
and selling great products.
This whole disaggregated approach, I mean, it could really change things, right?
Yeah,
Empowering those smaller businesses,
right.
giving us consumers more control,
More balanced,
a
yeah.
more balanced online experience.
It all comes down to trust, doesn't it?
It does. It does.
I mean, right now, we're just putting so much trust
Yeah.
in these big centralized platforms to handle our data,
Yeah.
handle our transactions, like even just what we see
The search result.
in the search results. Exactly.
And honestly, that trust has been kind of shaky lately.
Yeah.
With all the data breaches and all the talk about algorithms being biased, it's like we've given up a lot of control over like what we even see and what we end up buying.
We have. So the question is, can we shift that trust,
Okay.
away from these few big players and distribute it more evenly? Can we build systems that are like just inherently more transparent and accountable?
More resilient.
Yeah, more resilient. Yeah,
That's a big question, I mean.
it is.
And it's not just about the technology itself, right? It's
Yeah.
about rethinking this whole model
Yeah.
of online commerce.
It's about moving away from this like winner takes all mentality and creating something that's way more collaborative.
And that's a shift that could go way beyond e-commerce.
Oh, for sure.
What if we took this kind of thinking and applied it to like social media,
Yeah.
finance, healthcare? I mean, the possibilities are kind of crazy.
You're thinking big now.
Yeah.
We'd be talking about like a fundamental change in how we design and interact with online systems in general.
Yeah, it's like we're moving away from those walled gardens.
Walled gardens, right?
And building something way more interconnected. It's a
Yeah.
pretty radical idea.
It is.
But it does feel like something is changing.
It does.
It feels like people are starting to see the cracks in the current system
Yeah.
and realizing that, maybe putting all our eggs in those few big tech baskets
Yeah.
isn't the best idea.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's definitely the demand for alternatives and this recognition that we need to build something that's,
More equitable.
more sustainable for sure.
So where do we go from here? What can people listening do if they want to be a part of this movement towards a more disaggregated internet?
I mean, awareness is key, right?
Yeah.
Talk about these ideas.
With your friends, your family.
Yeah, with your friends, your family, your colleagues. Share those articles about like disaggregated commerce,
Yeah.
about blockchain technology. Just get the word out there.
And don't be afraid to vote with your wallet.
Yeah, for sure.
Look for those businesses that are already doing things differently.
Exactly.
The ones who are prioritizing transparency, data privacy,
Support those open source projects.
Yeah, the ones that are actually building the tools
Exactly.
for a more decentralized future.
Every choice we make online, it's like a vote
It is.
for the kind of internet that we want to see,
Yeah.
And by supporting these alternative models, we can help, make a difference.
Yeah.
And create a digital world that's just more empowering for everybody.
We may not be ordering pizza on a blockchain platform just yet,
Not quite yet.
but the future of online commerce is, it's wide open.
It is.
And it's up to all of us to shape it.
I
So thanks for joining us for this deep dive on disaggregated commerce. It's been awesome.
Yeah, it really has.
To everyone listening out there, keep those questions coming.
Yeah, for sure.
We're all learning and exploring this together.
Absolutely.
We'll catch you next time on The Deep Dive.